Welcome back, friends, to EU League. It's our match of the day, MNM Gaming versus G2 Esports. And I'm very excited for this one for so many reasons, but that's not on me to say. It's on my analyst. Welcome back. I'm Ostametic, your host for the show. With me are Fresh and Fabian. We're going to have a chat about these two squads, starting off with, as Hap likes to call them, G2. G2, what can they bring?
Well, they've just released a new merch line called Fresh, so I'm hoping someone's coming to my house. Anyway, that was
I
my
saw
little
Lycan's response to it. No, they're not making that mistake again.
They're not making that mistake again. That was my little plug. They're at their, third, fourth attempt at creating a super team to build a second dynasty. They've had that success. They're going for it again. They've imported 3 best players from opposition teams, Prano from Rogue, Doki from Na'Vi, and Alamal from Team 1. They won Playday 1. They didn't look particularly convincing, but for them, it was more about the result than I think it was about the performance. Coming into Playday 2 against a team that struggled, I think they'll be good for it.
Yeah, I mean, coming into the first Playday and just getting the 3 points out of it when you're having that sluggish of a map, I would call it, because they didn't really play well. They were riding quite heavily on Citizen's back. But Prano said himself in the interview, they did some mistakes, that's for sure.
Let's see if they fix them today. MNM on the other side, though, Fabian.
Well, they had quite a bit of a nervous start, I would say, and I think you guys would agree with me. They could have done better than they did, and it's tiny mistakes, and it's the first time they get into the highest league, and you can kind of forgive them for it. We actually have a player highlight from one of the MNM players, and it's just to highlight that we have a debut player here. His name is Yusuf. He played really well, even though they had these initial struggles. And it's one of the players that I actually looked forward to. Not only we highlight him just for his game first day, but it's a player that I look for MNM to be successful. If MNM wants to succeed, these are one of their key players. He does so much work. I'm a little bit surprised with his main operators, I'll be honest with you. I didn't see him as a support player here, and I don't feel like he really...
That's just Clubhouse.
Yeah, I think he doesn't really play a support role either, but he's more of a flexible player that can be anywhere and nowhere. He's really talented. I actually wanted this player for my own team.
I was just about to say this. Had MNM have not come into EUL, he would have been here on
Oh yeah, he would have been
team.
here somehow.
He's declined multiple offers from
he
multiple
declined me. Can you believe that?
From multiple regions as well.
He declined me.
Like
of all people.
Not even just in EU. From multiple regions.
Has.
Tier 1 teams wanted him. He declined them. He stayed with MNM. Got them up into Challenger League. He really is a star player.
He is, and the dedication he shows to his teammates, I think something is also really worth mentioning, and just keeping with the players that you've been with forever to show them that, I would say, like, just the faith in them to bring not only himself, but to bring each other up to the highest tier.
And can you believe it's his second debut today, Jack?
Oh, we're going to kill that joke at some point, Milo.
No, we're not. Maybe it'll be his 7th debut. Who knows? Let's see which map we're going to be playing on in this series. Again, a 9-map pool that we're running with in 2022. 8 are out, 1 is left, and it's G2 that'll have the last laugh on this one. Chalet taken out. We go to Bank, where MNM start off on the defense. They selected to start off on defense. Jack, what's up?
A couple of storylines here. The first one is throughout Challenger League, MNM had a 100% ban rate on this map. It is their perma-ban bank. They only have played it once, and that was in SI qualifiers, and it was when Kavana had the best of 5 advantage and could force them to play it without having a ban first. They actually beat Kavana on that map, so they've got, even though it's the permaban, they've got a 100% win rate on it. Now, in my opinion, you don't offer your permaban map as a last decider map unless you've got a plan to go there, to go against one of the big boys there.
If you have 4 bans and it ends up on the one that you have as your perm ban, no, you do it
it's for a specific reason.
You have a
They want to go there. Yeah.
It's going to be exciting to see what they have planned on it as well, because G2 as a team, and like even back when I was there, I've always liked playing Bank. One of Shaz's favorites map is Bank too. So there's a lot of history that comes both into the team from previous times, but they also played it last Playday, which means that they kind of have a preference for Bank, otherwise they wouldn't let it through. So I think that MNM might be pulling out something out of their hat here and try to surprise G2 with it, but also they had time to study G2, so they know what they do.
But G2 were kind of pulled apart by Leon in some ways in the last Playday. We talked about one player. Anybody else from MNM that needs to step up also to make this work today?
Tyrant looked off in Playday 1. From what our expectations of Tyrant from seeing him through Challenger League, like I say, SI quals and at SI, he's a very confident player. He's got a great shot. He looked a little bit off on Playday 1. I think if he steps up today, he could be key for MNM.
Yeah, and Solotov played well. Not only Yusuf had a really good debut, Solotov had also a really good debut. I think he even had a higher EPS than what Yusuf did. But I look at those 3 players to get the frags, and then we have Neon, and we have Nello. There we go.
Nello.
And
Neonical. It's because the names are so similar in game.
Yeah. I mean, I've known the guy for years, but those are the ones we expect in the backline to support each other. So, yeah, we need a little bit more from Tyrant.
Yeah, we're waiting on things to test G2 to see how their metal is. Actually, we have Alamal on the squad. There's just so much that we can dig into just for this match itself. That's why we always tell you to come in and catch the pre-show, because that's when we talk about the match of the day, to really give you all the deets on it all. Though, Fabian Fresh, thank you very much. We're going to bank in this one again for G2. MNM, can they rock a win out of this one? Will G2 be collecting more points? That's on Hap and Flug to take us through. Enjoy.
Thank you, Milos. And yeah, G2 doubling down on Bank to see if they can double their investments in MNM. They're going to pull off a surprise heist.
Yeah, that's going to be the... I was just thinking through. It's like,
okay, cool.
Is that sentence
Glad you
finished?
agree.
Yes, okay, heist, yes, okay. No, it's Casa de Papel. Yeah.
I mean,
that's of course where
not the only heist.
Not the only heist,
but it is a skin that once upon a time.
Exactly.
You still get it.
And sometimes it pops up in the discounts.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you can get it normally. It does sometimes still pop up as a bit of a limited one, as a personal offer as well. But yeah, like those skins were of course marketed in the cash room or the vault, whatever you want to call it. But we're getting it away. Match of the day. G2, of course, again, dubbed a super team. We're going to be seeing if they're going to be able to improve on the mistakes that they have made last week. And if MNM is going to be able to get those little shaky starts out of the way. And as the bans are coming through, I think there's one thing we can agree on. It's luckily not a 10 a.m. game for MNM, because otherwise we would have known the score already, right? So it's like
It didn't help them.
No, it didn't help them last time. That's very true. We are coming through, also not completely out of the ordinary. So far, only Nuck, really one that is one that we do not often see. It's not something that is completely off the books.
Look at all of them having a good time, just back and forthing.
Yeah, just having a nice little chat.
Know each other very well.
Yeah.
It's 2 rosters that are
not per se in playing each other, but more so because the players have played each other or with each other.
With each other, against each other. You're looking at 3/5 of a legendary Na'Vi roster across these 2 teams. That fought their way to the very top of the board and top of the echelons. You're looking at people that have been in and amongst rosters with each other. And then you're looking at, obviously, Virtue and Alamau, who sort of get dragged into all the EU banter. I mean, Virtue's been here a while now. He's up to speed.
He's pretty much up to speed.
Alamau's going to be, like, quickly introduced.
I think
Have
he
you
definitely
followed
will be.
the shenanigans of those?
I know he leaked G2Go 3 weeks before it went
I guess
out.
now G2Go's been announced. You can
We
put
can-
it out.
we
But
can
there
say
was a
it.
photo of the G2 lads, and the new fast food G2 product was maybe in that photo, and Carlos maybe responded to it and said somebody's going to get fired.
So if Alamau is gone after stage 1, we know exactly
what Carlos has done. But delicious fast food investments from esports companies aside, we now have the investment of Bank. And as it was pointed out, it's a little bit of a peculiarity here for MNM, who insta-banned it. They've played it once and they took it. But what do they think that they've got that G2 can stress them on the double down of G2 obviously playing it on the previous Playday?
Well, I think that's it, right? Because G2 did show some weaknesses here and there. The roam game of Rogue was very strong. It's just that the ever-looming threat, basically, of a Citizen being around that dragged G2 over the finish line in the end there. He was able to pick up so many amazing rounds, amazing kills that G2 was able to, of course, this time reinforced with Doki and Alamau, for example, pull themselves over the finish line there. And that might be something that they have seen. That might be something that they are now aware of and are looking to capitalize on. Because there is definitely opportunities to shut them down here. And I'll tell them as well that even with this international superstar lineup, someone from APAC, someone from LATAM, and then 3 EU players might not be enough.
It's a very quick bit of momentum there. You can see they're already trying to put the pressure onto Green. They were looking for a fight on the top 2 stairs, or floors even, but they couldn't quite get it on the stairs. There was a drop in the rotation onto the hatches. In the pockets of MNM, you're looking obviously at the Warden. You would assume he would be playing on the staircase, but not in this case. With all the hatches generally open over the site, they might just try and stop any sneaky plants that might be attempted. We've got the smokes, we've got the chance to try and relay that, and there was obviously a breakdown on how G2 were able to pull off plants sometimes with utilities still in pocket or not quite used as effectively by Rogue, who, you know, it's first Playday, a big Playday. Here are these the lessons MNM has learned, the control of the drone game as well with the combination of the Mozzie. Let's see if that comes together with the 50 seconds and the chance to try and get a plant in.
Now, it's not just going to be the smoke canisters. There's also Yokais. There's also a Warden that has the opportunity to look through smokes and flashbangs that come through. So as the first one swings in, there's an adrenaline surge active. And that means double tick damage will be taken from these smoke canisters. So they really have to be careful now if they want to use more of this ability as Prano. Sneaking in, here's that second smoke canister being tossed in. Digs himself back out. With 25 seconds on the clock and a Nitro being tossed in. It's basically coming down to Elamau now, just having to drop in, needing to pick up these kills before the Echo is going to be having too much of a trouble here for the side of G2, because that's one stun coming in. There might still be more, as Elamau will be finding the first Yokai drone.
Well, at this point, you can see Elamau wanted to jump over for a second, but now, with that Candela popping and only Neo left, not for very long, G2 open it up with a sharp bout of pace there. They had the fullbacks and the fullbacks, but unfortunately it all fell apart because Elamau, who, in the past Playday, it's worth knowing, had a very slow start.
Yes.
He was only really able to get a body out of the opening 3 rounds. If he is starting to find his feet and his confidence in an entirely different region, an entirely different league, that's worrying.
That is definitely going to be worrying if he's going to be able to pull rounds off like this. But I mean, once, okay, but if he manages to do it more than once, if this is something that will start happening consistently, then the investment definitely paid off to bring him over all the way from Brazil. Of course, very big personality as well. He's played some FPL when he was here back in the Sweden Major. And really got a lot of teams to pay attention to him at that moment and during that tournament as well. Same for the Mexico Major, of course, where a miracle run happened when he was still on Team 1. Either way, we're almost seeing a complete repick of the attackers here. We see an Ace, we see a Yana, we see a Montaigne, and a Gnome. And of course, there was a Blackbeard somehow picked. Again, I still think that, you know, those off picks are more so about quickly selecting the spawn and getting your drone ready, rather than it is to actually being an operator that you would like to play.
A little bit of a change here from the defenders as well. Obviously, they've pulled off the Echo. They're not going to see if they can have that flat reliance. The smoke is gone too, although they had some ability, which they quickly pulled back on the previous round. This time, well, they have the chance at even more, especially with the Oryx and how that can extend itself. Hey, remember the users play we saw before? It was huge, and well, they're going to see if they can try and lean in to a little bit more of that frantic action. Here, the push and the pressure's coming its way towards that quad wall. We've talked about how it's very important to get early, but
they don't notice.
there it is. There's
a missed
one
drone
for users. Pulls himself slightly back further down, takes care of the air jab, and it's just going to sit and wait for now.
This is just such a big missed drone coming through. You should have checked this. He's been here the entire time. It doesn't stop them, however, as Elamau was able to, well, equalize that scoreline and hit the site a little bit. Sprano is now coming around the corner here. That will most likely be shutting down any potential further push of that Oryx. But you cannot forget, though, just a simple Ramadesh is going to be able to knock the Montaigne off its feet. That might be devastating near the end of the round as well. Castle Barricade is being opened up. There's now multiple angles onto that side, multiple openings generated as well. And as Users is back on the side, actually used the hatch to jump back in. It's G2 now that needs to figure out whether or not the kitchen will be clear enough to actually start pushing for a plant.
Well, User still has the chance to rotate on the either hatch to his either side, and he's sort of waiting for a little bit more of that pressure, a little bit more of that persistence to come through. The Banshee's going to scream, but nobody really cares. If it's a Monty that passes through, he's not going to be stopped in that approach. But Pirano is going to see if he can get the connection there. Instead, it's dropped by Users. He gets the swing, and Doki makes sure they at least keep the body balance back. Still loads of time. And Solotov means that he's making the most of it here. Neo on a little bit of a swing on the archive. He's about to find a fight just around the side. Sees the top, gives his game away, pre-fires the other angle, waits for the pop round, but nobody is connecting with him properly. He's sort of expecting a closer engagement, finally finds it, but it doesn't quite go his way. Alamau still able to keep doing the business, 40 seconds, and well, that's the benefit to having those early dives. The ping there cannot really be dealt with by anything in the pockets of the remaining 2 players. So they're just going to have to try and fight through it. Usus, in the meantime, he fights his way back. And Solotov locks in MNM's first round.
Well, skirmish there by MNM, trying to continue to bring the fight outwards, because as soon as you sit in the side only, and it's going to be a bit of a rough game, or rough round rather, because then they just open up all around you, they close off the angles and try and go for the plant. Still kind of confused though, how the Monty dropped whilst planting. Would assume there was a reverse plant using the bomb chassis for cover. And hoping that there was, of course, just been trolled by Doki. Not sure what that means. It's at least going in between all of them.
It's just... I mean, it's probably the exact same comms that happen.
It is.
On a scrim. It's that sort of energy. And, you know, that's good, because it's worth sort of looking at the G2 Rogue grudge match on the opening day. It has turned into a little bit of a grudge match between the two. And don't get me wrong, it was the top 2 performing players in either team, Citizen and Leon, that sort of have this heat that they bring against each other, which is spread across the other rosters. But still, it becomes a bit of a focus, and was a focus on a scoreboard. The more flat firefight here, and Alamau off to a start of 5-1.
Yeah, that's a good start for him. He's definitely finding some success here. He's now on the Monty, however, seeing if he can have the same impact as he had before.
It's a curious call when a guy's gone 5-1 over the opening 2.
Yes, I mean the Monty, bringing the Monty, not per se, but putting Alamau on it might not be the best choice indeed after he's been off to a very great start. But this is what I like. They're just going to try and waste some utility very early on here, try and go for an early plant. And yeah, there comes a smoke canister, there comes a yokai drone, but that's one piece of utility gone. There's still 2 smoke canisters left and of course a couple of C4s, but if you start doing this at 2 minutes 10 on the clock already, I mean, at some point, the defenders will be running out of their utility here. And as the smoke canisters are being tossed back now by the side of Alamau, they're just going to try and block as much lines aside as they possibly can, as that is an impact nade tossed in at the same moment. Nello actually tossed in one of his smoke canisters, I believe. So that one got destroyed. That means there's just a C4 left. And that's a grenade that just comes around the corner there.
Well, there it is. They're able to take care of that player that was burning time. And as you said, doing this so early means they can still build behind it. Virtue finds the sliver of a player, another echo drone, another smoke canister. Stops a little bit more. The C4 of Users has to pop off at the right time. It's just waiting for it. And, well, that's the sort of gambit here. They still have a lot of time to work with. You can see a bit of a rotation coming through, where they're trying to draw some focus away and slightly widen the attention. It's the drop of the grenade down the hatch at the start of that. Users finds a slightly wider firefight, and it's going to go for a rotation of his own. Might not know he's about to meet the other players. Prano's going for a plant once again. Nello takes care of Alamau, though. That's the shield gone. Doki gets Nello, bites back. The beepers swing, and Citizen swings too. Gets one of his own, and Doki logs it off. The second down in the basement for G2.
Yeah, the basement seems to be working out quite well here, and the Monty being brought, of course, to waste as much utility as they could early on basically leaves you with 1:30 left at the end there, which is plenty of time to try and go for a plant if there is just yokais on the board. So, well played there by G2, well read. I'm not quite sure how the Monty died there. I mean, we did see Nello with the kill, but if the Monty, like, Nello was also very close, so he must have ran all the way through and been able to somehow get the right angle. Or Alamau actually went for an ADS attempt there with the Monty and lost his life as a result. We didn't see that, but that's all fine. It's 1-2, G2 still in front. And as Doki just was quickly active in the chat again, talking about the one trick. Alamau making some fun of the loss of Ossa. Just as in a, you know, we'll just bring Monty instead. Basically does the exact same thing. It's just a gun less that you'll be working with. But in that basement, it works quite well. 1-2. Opening being made on that first stock wall. Mute Jammer on the second one will be stopping any Selmas to come around the corner if they would be there. Now, that's not the case. So that wall will most likely stay put. It will stay closed, and grenades will have to come around the corner to try and dislocate that player. Is Doki already in the server stairs? He's trying to sneak up. He's trying to get a very quick opening here without anybody noticing. Of course, the peepers will go off, so if someone would be near, they might be aware of it. But grenades from below seems to be the play here.
It's so quick again, once again, by G2 here. The pace that they get themselves in and try and apply this pressure here, well, it's not really anybody else's game apart from theirs right now. Whether it's something that Prano's brought to the roster, a roster that he sort of brought a game to. There it is, third time's charm. And they find an Nello.
It's well read by them there. I mean, they used 2 grenades. Nello probably thought, okay, it's safe to move back in now, but then a third grenade came through, finds the kill, and it basically makes it worth it. All the utility you have just used, because you lose the smoke. A big operator on a map like Bank, more so in the basement than on the top floor. However, it's still 3 smoke canisters that are gone. That's 30 seconds of extra time you suddenly have to try and plant or push through a choke point. Those repels on the windows are now coming through. Doki, playing with that LMG, he's going to be starting to open this up, seeing if there's any utility he needs to get rid of, but at the same time being careful enough to counter any potential jump outs that might be coming in soon for many of these players. It's always a risk, of course, when you're up on these windows, especially with the amount of time you can waste as a defender being outside.
Well, as that gets opened up, he has an idea with a grenade, and it just rolls a little bit away from Solotov. He has the second to sliver, but it was a flash of red that probably puts a bit of fear into him. Playing this power position here, just on the front desk, making sure he can check out anybody that tries to check in to the office itself. Virtue, though, on the far side, is looking to try and angle some of those zero cams and Sam and see if he can apply the pressure with Citizen about to creep his way up the spiral stairs. All of the pressure is coming across here just to pull a little bit of focus away. There's Virtue, netting the kill onto Neo, and there's the pressure coming all the way to the top. Prano's going to try and stick it just inside the breach they made earlier, almost a little bit of friendly fire, but Users finds the planter and Doki finds Users, and there is Solotov, but there is Doki once again. G2 has threat for threat. They've got themselves a response for every question posed, including that. G2, 3-1.
Attacks look a lot better now, actually. G2 seems to be working together quite well as a team here, so they are going to be able to continue winning these rounds. So does the chat that just continues to pop off there. I need to make sure that I stop reading it because it distracts me quite a bit every now and then. Staff room open area coming up. That is the site where they seem to struggle a bit. It's where MNM was able to continue these skirmishes, which brought them that success in the end. Of course, they wanted to go for a quick plant with that Montaigne. Didn't quite work out due to an angle not truly being covered. So we get to see if there's a different approach coming in from G2 this side. Or this time, maybe a bit more of a complete take if you want to go for a plant rather than just try and sneak in a Montaigne. Because he's not a very sneaky operator, you know. He's quite loud.
Yeah,
to get him in somewhere.
I would say if we were to scale the operators on stealth rating, he's not up there.
He's all the way down there.
Yeah, but it's their sort of approach. They've got a slightly different alternate. Again, there's such a huge bit of pace, and I think one of the things that we're looking at here is, you know, Citizen so far hasn't had the biggest connection, but he hasn't needed to because of what Alamau, Doki, and Virtue were able to consistently do. Prano has been going for the plant every single time. There's not a single round where Prano isn't actively working the Prano job of Operation Plant. But it's also the drive, the pace of the team, how quickly they're able to apply this pressure, which is something that we never used to see from the previous G2 roster. MNM, unfortunately, that back line that we talked about, its importance, that sort of play between Nello, Neo, and Tyrant that wasn't there last Playday, isn't there yet as well. It's early doors. It's Bank. We're 3-1. Bank generally 2 defense. This is what a lot of teams seem to nail. But you need to try and get that energy because there is a lot of momentum.
That friendly drone he just shot. Pretty sure that was a friendly drone that just got taken out there. It might have just been hacked before it actually transitioned because the outline was still red. So it was like, it's a bit tricky there either way. Whether it's utility from MNM or from G2 taken out, G2 continue to clear out this top floor. And so far, no roamers here. There is no one that is looking to put some pressure up on this top floor from the side of MNM. And with that, that gives some freedom here to G2. But what Doki might have seen there is a hatch that has been opened up in the elevator. And that proves to be potentially used by a player like Yuzu, who's currently on that Oryx, having the opportunity to jump up. Luckily, of course, they have blocked off Kanto, so that wall has been opened up by G2. So if he does, he cannot really leave without being spotted potentially. Ooh, look at this. Do they know? They seem to be aware of it.
They have an idea.
Oh, they're baiting with the drone. They're baiting it. They knew they were going to drone it, so they were baiting that they were out there. There's a second player on the server rack. Yeah, he's waiting for it. So they went for a bait. Solotov even pinged it. Stand there and look towards the server stairs. That way, they might not know that you're coming from the actual dirt tunnel.
They're making sure Alamau doesn't get the rotate and get himself locked in. The C4, and he slipped away because he knows the fight is just a second away. He can still sort of watch it, but Alamau doesn't have that interest. 48 seconds. They know they need to set themselves up, and that take underneath isn't going to work, because if Alamau loses, then suddenly they've lost everything down there. The breach and the pressure onto the site comes through. Nello, he's ready to impact this if he can get the catch. Just be quicker. A little bit late, a little bit too high, and Doki gets a little bit of Neo with Nello following close afterwards. Solotov gets Doki in the midst of everything. But with 25 seconds and a 2 versus 4, they're in a good stead now to see if they can try and get this plant down this time.
It's only depending, though, on that diffuser. If Tyrant is going to be able to shut them down on this kitchen take here, it could be huge. He's hiding right around the corner. He's going to be able to find one, finds two. He's going to be able to go for the third. That's the big question. The pre-fire comes in. Citizen finds that one. It's a one-on-one situation, and he has no clue where uses this. He needs to go for the sprays. 3 seconds, comes around the corner, and he gets picked up. Yuzus clutches that one out there for MNM, but it all started earlier when the diffuser got dropped, and suddenly the pressure was on G2, even though they had that massive 2-man advantage.
That was a little moment there of Tyrant to bring a little bit of life back in, but twice on the same site. As I said, 2's good, but you want to try and still break that momentum and that meta, because G2's starting to cook. They're starting to tie things together, and those little mistakes they punished pretty well previously. Here on this swing of the half, or just before even. Let's see if they can try and tie some of this back on to Vault, the site that they've lost twice.
Say this. It's so unfortunate as well that, you know, Alamau was running at the moment Prano was being shot at. So he just walked right into the pre-fire. And they didn't know there was still a player near the cubicles there. So, well played by MNM. And as they're going back towards that first lineup, I mean, they did find a bit more success with it. They were able to stall out the defense, or the attack, rather, a bit longer with the Warden, the Echo, and of course Nello on the smoke as well. There's a lot more denial on the board that way. Also have 2 more extra nitro cells available. Now it's up to G2 to try and read into this. They should be potentially even going for a bit of a garage push at the very same time they want to go for an actual side push. I mean, every single time it is the Echo hiding in garage, every single round. So if you are able to strike at the right timing, you might be able to actually find him and catch him off before it becomes a big of a problem. Alamau there had the opportunity to go for a gunfight through the wall, but decided to choose his life, knowing that the Candelas on the execute are way more important than potentially that first kill could be.
Yeah, we saw him execute, and he was a bit of that pressure applied in the very opening round. He made sure that he could sort of hit the ground running and allowed a bit of room. Doki gets users in the meantime, and there's those Sam Cams. They are so effective on this map, and there's Solotov pulling one back. Tyrant might not entirely know where he was pulled from, but he was almost entirely pulled out of the round there, just from that huge long-range spray there for Virtue. A bit too far away to probably get proper confirmation on just how much was done, but there was a drone not too out of it, so they at least know they forced the player off.
Sam Cam's really working out well there. You saw with just 2 quick shots, actually basically completely cleared out the lobby and the tellers area, was even able to put up huge amounts of damage onto Tyrant, which will be helping, of course, as soon as the actual push will come through. Virtue opens up the 2 hatches on the western side, whereas the rest of G2 will be focusing on the actual A bomb site. CCTV wanting to go for a bit of a plant, and as Neo goes a bit more aggressive as well through that garage area, G2 of course need to focus on getting rid of that defensive utility now. Barbed wire is being destroyed, and that might call out of a, you know, we have the opportunity to go deep now if we want to. If a drop comes in from Alamau, he's not being slowed down by that barbed wire. There is a call, however, that there is a yokai drone right underneath that desk. There's multiple pings coming out, and they need to try and find a way to destroy it before they try and go for the plant.
There's a canister. The smoke pops perfectly, stops Prano, and you're looking at a minute with the first being popped off there. It's a preemptive strike, but it's a perfectly played and placed one. Alamau, he's just trying to get a blind, maybe bait a little bit more utility, a little bit more movement, and hope that they expected the same push before, but it's the second canister.
Very
so
smart.
It's Virtue there going for the rotate.
Yeah, and the Echo is, of course, playing in that garage, so as the plant now is going down, Prana might actually stick that. He's not taking too much damage from the smoke there, but it's actually... Oh, the Echo drone was way too late! It goes off, and that means 45 seconds are on the clock now.
And that's it, a bit of a missed moment there, and now they're going to see if they can try and retake. Virtue gets taken out first. Neo had the call and the read, and look at the big blue rotate that's coming
Alamau's
through
ready.
on the green stairs. Alamau's holding it, goes for one, looks for the second, but it's a trade. And that's a huge moment there. Alamau able to take both, and Prano is injured, but with Citizen just holding off on the side. Prano goes to retake the verticality. You're looking at 15 seconds and a 2 versus 2. But without that player on top, it's a huge moment there for
So
them
well
to just
played.
lock it off. And G2, MNM did pretty much everything right outside of a little late Echo drone, but G2, they did it as well.
Yeah, G2 did everything right for sure there, right? They tried to get rid of all the defensive utility as soon as they could in that push. They even pushed the garage to try and keep the Echo off his drones, and maybe that small bit of pressure that was coming down resulted in MNM being a bit too late with that stun. It basically came down, or it was shot at the moment that the diffuser went down and the 45 seconds started to tick. And that way, you find yourself in a post plant. And if you do not have that top floor control, if you do not have hatch control, there's always going to be a player up there, and that player is always going to be able to have that high ground, have that, you know, small amount of himself that is currently being exposed. Is that on the railing, or is it on the pillar? The Banshee, never mind. It's a pillar, yeah. I was going to say, it seems to float because of the perspective that we have with Bank.
I'm glad you're losing it.
Sometimes, yes.
We're halfway through the play day.
Halfway through the play day. There's still another game, 2 games to go.
2 games.
1 game for us.
And
after
this.
And this game. We're not even done yet.
No, this
so
is the perfect halfway mark.
it's the perfect halfway. That's definitely through. Unless we go to overtime, then it's not yet. But it doesn't really matter right now. Because G2, 2-4, they are in the lead. And they look, in my opinion, a lot better than they did against Rogue. They seem to be working well together on their attacks here. Like, everything seems perfectly orchestrated here. Maybe the exception of the open area, which they've lost twice. But the rest seem to do very well.
Off the top of my head, I believe it was an even split the opening half the last time G2 was on here last week. So there is a little bit more pace to them, but it's MNM's chance to see if they can try and strike some back in. Now they're the driver of the momentum. They suffered at the quick pace of G2 over the previous few rounds, and on pretty much every single side apart from open. And here they're going to open up and see if they can try and drive their attacks as well as they did their defenses. They're expecting a jump out. A little bit of pressure, and to be fair, it's not the most unusual thing, but I think with the hold that G2 have and with the pace, they're not going to overextend. Doki, he's droned.
I was going to say, that's dangerous there. Need to make sure you check your corners. Indeed, what's happened. Now, Doki's trying to challenge the window repel, and at the moment, the window player stops shooting is the moment Doki runs past. A bit of unfortunate timing there. Maybe the mag ran out. Not quite sure. Either way, it is the top floor now cleared out. And this is allowing MNM to take that control. But look at the timing. Already 1:20 gone. So they need to make sure that they make everything else happen quickly here in quick succession. Otherwise, they're going to be struggling for time at the very end of it. And Solotov is starting to open up some of these verticals just to make sure that G2 is not allowed to play near the Tellers and Archives area and will really be stuck inside of the site itself. That's going to be providing some extra safety towards the players of MNM once they do finally go for the execute.
That's it, though. It's late and it's dangerous, and we've seen utility be such a big problem in that final minute sort of segment, especially with the quad wall still standing. It forces you into a very tricky push. It forces you into a tricky environment. A couple of preemptive explosions there, hoping to see somebody in stock, but actually no interest to be paid here. The pinch might come down to this player just at the bottom of the elevator, holding and waiting. Neo is watching, but Doki's able to slip by. Pulls himself background and expects to see the sliver of a body, pre-fires. But the expectation was just a step wrong. The Gon 6 gets that Banshee, 40 seconds, and a big rotate comes around underneath the bottom here. If this goes unchecked, they're about to be massively punished by a Doki up blue.
Yeah, and it might definitely well be. And as they do start to open up the quad wall now, it's Citizen with the very first shot. There's also a player hidden right behind the chair. We'll be finding Tyrant here. Virtue in a good position. The diffuser has been dropped. More players of MNM are starting to reinforce the front lines here as Citizen is going to be able to strike yet once more. The diffuser stays down. It's a deagle to come out, but it's not going to last. Evil Eye, however, giving away a lot of information. There comes the flank. Doki from the back and Brano from the front will both pick a kill up each. And that is G2 with a very important round here. Open area 1. And G2 is calling the pause, it seems.
Okay.
It's not something we see very often.
I guess whether it's tactical or whether it's...
Everybody is fine for now.
We'll wait for some clarity. I mean, you can see that...
It's a pause, it's not a timeout.
Yeah. It's different. Maybe there's an error elsewhere. But either way... MNM, you can see they're having quite frantic, oh, not frantic, fervent conversations, intense conversations. They know that they need to sort of step it up and step it in right now. They know that G2's playing confidently, and that confidence is a terrifying thing against a roster that's made up of these. There it is. We
followed up by
instantly roll into attack timeout here by MNM.
I mean, it's a perfect moment, right? Like, you have your opponent calling for a pause due to some issue. Which gives you some time to talk. And of course, the coach can listen in, so you can already ask the questions at that moment in time to some extent. And when your tactical timeout comes in, it saves you a little bit of time, right? The coach can then answer these questions, but also give you some last, well, guidance, some last tips that you need, because you only have one. And as Nello is nodding his head in agreement here and there, it seems like MNM know what they need to do. I was going to say users looks hyper-focused, but it might also be his cam that just froze. You have to every now and then. But they're getting in the way again. They need to attack some tough sites here. G2 only need 2 rounds to lock this off. The open area has just been won, and that means that that one is locked for now. But that does mean we are headed towards the basement, potentially, or the CEO office. And if they really feel like it, we might see Archive Stellars. But I don't really think that that site will be played due to how vertical it is. You can basically completely open it up from above.
We're back from the tack timeout to a technical pause.
Okay, so we go from tack to tack
so
to
attack
tack.
to attack to attack. Tic-tac-toe. I mean, what other kind of pauses are there out there?
Do we have any other pauses?
I don't think so. Technically, that's all the pauses.
Technical, tactical.
Unless they need to pause us. We're back in.
Maybe. But we're back in indeed, and it's 2-5. We're going towards the basement, and G2 will be bringing some denial themselves as well. We see some smoke canisters being brought by Alamau, but he's not using the shotgun. He's actually using the FMG9. Now, something that wasn't utilized by MNM is, as you have dubbed them, the hot pockets from Prano.
I'm gonna see if that catches on NA, because NA said can openers
and Samcams.
and Samcams.
Yeah.
I want hot pockets.
And Salvation Station is also something we have brought
Salvation
through.
Station is
The Kona.
from Jackers.
Jackers. The fervent ranked player. What team is he on nowadays? Is he on a team?
Fresh and Friends.
Is he on Fresh? Oh, Fresh. I was looking over to Fresh. But either way, yeah, the pockets are being placed, and that's towards that fault drop. And understandably so, that is going to be a good way to stop them from dropping down there. Also one inside of the elevator here. So Prana really working and really making sure that, I mean, and to be fair, right, if someone drops into the elevator and that one pops, you are toasted, quite literally.
I think that's the way of that one, is you're looking at how do they get that one to open up. I mean, if you hit it with an impact, because it's not the easiest angle to shoot. If you're swinging that and someone's already dropped in, chances are you're actually probably going to want to take the firefight with them instead.
Yeah.
If you can get it off, then they've got to go to the door of elevator. They can't sit and hide on the back, which means that they've got to take firefights which they didn't want to take or aren't ready to take. That's that tricky situation of that one.
Quick openings being made here, though, by Solotov, working on some verticalities as well to, you know, make the roamers of G2 feel a little bit uncomfortable here. Question, of course, is will he succeed? I mean, at least he starts opening up above the hatches that they would like to get control of. Drones coming in, however, from MNM are giving away some information. That is a pre-fire or attempted wallbang coming out from Let's quickly check over. I'm not quite sure who that was. It's Doki playing inside of the open area, and Citizen and Doki both falling back at a 130 mark. Something we have seen many, many times over and over from G2 in the previous time they were defending against Rogue. So they're still onto that. And with that, you know, okay, you get droned out. They know you're there. You make your pressure known. So maybe just firing through that is just to let them know, hey, we're up here. And then you fall back. So they need to drone everything out. They need to be careful. You waste some time. But you're all back onto the site now for a minute left. And this is important because there is still no progress made towards the site by MNM. They might just have to go for a hedge drop at some point, but those are being covered up by the hot pockets everywhere.
Well, Citizen took the drone quickly, and Solotov got a little bit of quick revenge there. That's that garage space opened up. That gives them another route through. Here, though, as you said, the well-prepared and placed bits of utility are going to try and find their way through. There's the reveal on that, the Goyo, and there's the swing, and there's the pop. Virtue!
Virtue, what are you doing?
I
think it seems
a little bit of a miscommunication, I'm going to assume there. I think he wanted to see if he could just pop up with a shotgun and hope they fell into it, but instead suffers at the hands of Doki. Doki not just baiting teammates, but also baiting utility at this point as well. The challenge and the drop and the fire is going to hold them off, but 20 seconds. MNM have to do a bit of a mad dash because it takes 5 to clear your way through. Tyrant gets the open and the Candelas are popping on the other side, and they're going to see if they can fight their way down from green. Alamau bites back with the FMG and leans into his own smoke, but Neo in the meantime gets one. He's right on the door and dropped out, locked in. Going to see if they can stop the plant. Prana, though, caught out before he gets there, and MNM find their third round, their first attack on the second attempt.
Second attempt indeed, and the Garage player is still out there, of course, stopping that rotation from fully getting into motion. And not really given an opportunity to challenge the planter there. Maybe should have gone for a bit of a sprint at that moment in time. And I know you really don't want to do that when you're in a situation in a 1v3 clutch. Last thing you want to do is just run into the enemy's gunfire. But otherwise you had to take the Garage gunfight. And GT not deciding to stick around on that bottom floor. They're headed all the way back up. Not wanting to deal with any drops to come through. Instead, we'll be dealing with a bunch of window access points here. There's a small openings being made by the Bailiff here. Rotation, some small lines of sight. Rotations being made by the Ramadash as well, of course. Works quite well. And this is a pretty default setup, I'd say. Long angles are being created for G2 to challenge the people on the top of square. And as they're all setting up, there is, of course, access to a couple of 1.5 sites here. At least, I think. I'm not quite sure, actually. Does Warden have it? Does Warden have the 1.5 site?
I believe so.
I think he does. Yeah, there you have it. I was going to say, because the MPX doesn't have it on Valkyrie, but does have it on Warden.
Yeah.
So it's Virtue that will be playing these very long angles, most likely, if the challenge does come down from the top of square. Flashbangs coming through, smokes to make sure that they won't be able to look through. No problem. You're the Warden. You just activate those smart classes, and we'll be able to still take the challenges. So with that done, the rest of the team can be a little bit more roam heavy, can be a bit more explorative here, trying to find access points, trying to find... So there's a tricky jump right there. The parkour is coming through, wanting to get the Mew Jammer there. That's a failed shot. Still down there. Okay, it was actually Banshee, I think. Just zap the Banshee. Of course, it cannot kill
Well,
that.
we have seen the Twitch drone that gets thrown onto the pillar.
Yeah.
All the way to the top as well, which is always the fun play with that unlimited range that it offers. You can sort of get yourself set up, but it otherwise just rolls on by. Tyrant's trying to hold down the door. There's pressure that's coming in. You need those grenades, though. They're a very important factor of being able to put some pressure onto the player up there. If you can't quite get the Twitch to do the job that it otherwise is trying to get done, it's going to have to be that lock-in, the old traditional. And Alamau and Virtue are there to make sure that old traditional is newfangled and still G2. The creep up the stairs, the reveal on the drone, the player, the grenade, they pull themselves back. They're not going to get entirely stressed out like a Doki underneath, though. He's going for a movement. He's going to creep through that rotation onto the side. He's looking for the first, but nobody reveals themselves. And with the player on the window, it's actually just going to sit there. Alamau goes for the swing. There it is, and he still wins out. Looks for the second on the window itself, tucked in on the corner. Virtue is offering some of the support he can over the side and the shoulder. Doki's down, but not entirely out just yet. Is forcing a play. Nello finally finds the kill onto him, but it's a little bit of a shake in the wheels.
It definitely is. It's also going to be a lot of pressure suddenly on top of the side of MNM, because there is still opportunities to rotate in and out, especially with the elevator player that has just dropped. Could be taking the place, could be putting up some more pressure towards Solotov. So it forces one of the players of MNM to continue playing on this window to stop that from happening. And as Solotov gets his head clean taken off, it's Elamau that will be playing in a big position right here on that long desk, spots the player on the rappel, tries to go for some cheeky shots with the T5 SMG. Is not quite able to hit them though. The spiral stairs are being ascended here by Nello. Misses the first couple of shots, also gets downed by Elamau. Playing from this position, he's on low HP. Noswall is in, finds it as well. It's a triple kill for him, going for the quad. Locks it off, and G2 are on match point.
I mean, if he wasn't quite warmed up on the first Playday, he is cooking with fire now. Elamau, the star sensation for a lot of people throughout 2021, and one of those that was able to get their hands on a major trophy. Well, when you spend the money to bring a talent like that over to the league, the sooner they can get themselves comfortable, the sooner they can start putting in plays like this and performances. I mean, I guess when Doki is the guy that's getting you culturally ready for the world of Europe,
I think you're ready, though.
I think the sort of process moves very quickly.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's in general when you're getting readied up by some UK players. Very well versed in the
very
European
well
scene.
versed in getting people ready. And I mean, 12-6, and I'm not going to say this is his consistent performance, but we know what he's capable of.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll see players, even if they'll have sort of minor transfers from a tier 2 to a tier 1, will struggle for a few play days before they get to the rhythm. Sometimes they never will. Sometimes they're the bigger movement, like Virtue when he first sort of came over and couldn't quite get his familiarity. It took him a little bit to warm into it for this roster, and obviously we've seen EU players go over to NA and not quite pop off the same way. Yeah. And you know, the sooner Elamau feels comfortable, the scarier this G2 becomes.
Now, do you want to know how you can see that the changes G2 have made seem to be working out quite well?
Oh, tell me.
They seem to be winning right now. And Citizen,
Well, thanks, Doc.
Listen, Citizen, not top fragger, not even top 3. He's number 4 right now in the amount of kills. So everybody is pulling in the weight massively here. And Citizen, the man who had G2 on his back for the entirety of 2021, is finally allowed to rest a little bit.
The approach starts once again, and they're seeing if they can try and meet some of it. And obviously, we're back towards this top position, a top hold and a top bit of pressure from Doki. He has the option to try and slip his way out of here if he wants to, but the longer he lasts, the longer he sticks here, the more dangerous it's going to be. Toe-to-toeing with a single player inside CEO, just drops.
Got spotted there.
Yeah, spotted and revealed. The yellow ping gives all, and that is a body gone. Much earlier than the last time.
A lot earlier indeed. 1 minute 40 still on the clock. Plenty of time here for MNM to work with, but they need to go to the basement, of course. Losing that Jaeger, not really the operator that stands out as a must-have for the defenders. In the final couple of seconds. Now, they are starting to open up. They have spotted that the hatch inside the side office is completely soft, so Solotov can just sledge that open, but they need to reach that position first. Doing so, we'll continue to open up verticalities here, making sure he can support his teammate inside of the open area, of course, which is Tyrant, just running around, taking out benches and default cams, making sure that every single piece of utility left up there by G2 before they fell back has been taken care of. Because there's 55 seconds on the clock, and look at MNM's placements. There's 4 people around these server stairs here. They are ready to take on Virtue, and as the Candela comes in, that's not really a problem for him, because he's not going to activate his glasses for some reason. Uses is just going to take him clean off. I don't know if he could find the middle mouse button. Either way, it's going to be another kill for Uses there. A 5v2, and MNM are starting to fly into this round.
Yeah, not right sure what happened there, but I don't even think Virtue at this moment in time. Either way, they're not going to look a gift horse in the mouth here. MNM, they're stacking themselves up. They know that there's going to be some pressure. 3 smoke canisters for Elamau, and the first pops perfectly. Nello's going to have to deep dive. He cannot really just sit there unless Solotov pulls off a play like that, drops the player on the other side, and a flawless comes behind it.
I'm still not quite sure what happened with Virtue there. I was sure he was going to be activating his glasses there, but he didn't. and thus he was fully blind when he took the gunfire, and that doesn't really seem to be going well for you in that moment in time.
I guess.
Or maybe you couldn't find a middle mouse button, Emmy.
I
You know,
mean,
it happens.
I would be surprised. I don't know if the gadget was on recharge.
No, it wasn't. It was completely full.
Oh, was it?
I was checking at the operator card. I'm like, any time now this will activate. But it didn't. And 4-6, MNM have found a round here. Second on the attack. G2, though, only need one more round to bring in Bank for a second time in a row. 2 times in a week, 6 points in total if they succeed. And have those 2 rounds available to them. An open area will be the next side they go to, and side that is quite tricky to attack. A castle barricade through the middle, though, might be helping them out if they do manage to find themselves in a position to attack the kitchen. If there's no additional rotations and lines of sights being made, of course, to help them. Because you see, like, this looks quite easy to take, you know what I mean? Like, there's just a rotation you need to deal with, 2 rotations now, actually. But Prana, of course, is still continuing to open up everything necessary for impact tricks, rotations later on, and lines of sight. I mean, he's the man with the bailiff here. He's basically doing everything by himself.
You know, gotta earn the position.
Yeah, I mean, Virtue needed to run around to open stuff up elsewhere and put down the castle barricades, and he's now returning to the site to work with the super shorty, so...
Talking of earning that position, Solitov and Usus once again, putting in huge damage. Tyrant's doing sort of a little bit better, but they're still missing that core play of that MNM roster that was so repeatedly frightening. Is a lot of them had the ability to step up. And there's a big loss. Solitov on the opener of the round.
There's a camera, I think.
Body gone out, and the reveal. Hey, we have a C4 here.
Yeah, it might have been a camera that has been pre-placed inside the CEO office, of course, telling them a rappel was happening, so you know exactly when to blow it up. That is an opening kill, an important one. It's Solitov gone, the man who has been absolutely big in the previous game they played, and is even, well, basically matching that right now. The camp just got spotted out, you see that? So they knew, indeed, they were rappelling in there. It's going to be a good pick. That's the sledge gone. A lot of verticality is suddenly off the board. All you have left is the 3 breaching charges that Nello brings. You got to be very wise on where to use those. And those most likely will be used in the side of stock to at least put some pressure onto the direct side.
Tyron swinging and trying to put some damage down onto the open door. They know that there's going to be all of the hold in place. There's the disc stopping, an immediate grenade of that Maestro cam, and a bit of a dabble there and a dance on the double door. They are set around the bottom of green, the opposite staircase, to see if they can go for a rotate, but they don't need to make it just yet. It was impactful, but it was impactful in the previous round because it was perfectly timed. Here, MNM is still burning their way through and burrowing through the big quad wall. Citizen is going to try and maybe creep his way out. He goes for a bit of a dash, actually, and he's able to get himself stacked up behind that castle. They have the pillars and beams to protect their feet either side of it, but it gets them a little bit more room. Apart from that player that's just above, how aware is Neo? How close was he? Well, they're sure aware of him. Uses gets Doki on the door. 40 seconds. They've got a bit of control there of the rotation. Tyrant wants to try and make his way in as the Thatchers and Destruction start to pop. The Maestro cam is gone on the far wall as well, so they're just going to have to go by the intel. They've got the spray through, but drop right down. Alamau has the cover. Took a huge amount of damage, but they're stacked up once again. Citizen with the cross angle and Usus bites back to get the pre-firing. No ADSing player. 15 seconds and 1 is left, 1 is above. Neo has to take a drop here. He's revealed on the camera, and Citizen locks in at the end, I believe, 4. An extra set of points.
There you get it, 6-4. That's 6 points in total here for G2 in the league, and they'll be more than happy with that. Yeah, it was the castle indeed. And that well played by them there as Doki was very happy as soon as they won. He just started just gesturing.
If you want to beat anyone, you want to beat
those
your
arms. That's it, right? I mean, and it was all good spirits, right? Everybody was having fun. They were just poking fun at each other through through the games. Yeah, we have a new angle. So we went from camera 4, I think. I don't know.
Enough about that.
Way, enough about the cameras. An amazing game it was.
An amazing game. And that's the main thing here. With G2, we're seeing more of them start to sharpen. More of them start to warm up in a roster that, well, is a little bit scary. MNM, still, unfortunately, a bit cold coming into this. There's a lot of playdays left for them to heat up. But sooner rather than later, a quick break before we're back with our noisy desk.